What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Alex Wilson. And today we want to talk about the New York Giants offensive line and try to bring a positive spin to this. Talk about why we think the Giants offensive line could improve in 2024. Now, we know the Giants offensive line for the last 5 years, putting it nicely, it's been bad. If you want to put it a little bit more bluntly, it's been terrible. It's been awful. In 2023, the New York Giants surrendered 85 sacks. Now, of course, you can go a little bit deeper into that number. You could talk about how many of those sacks were actually charged to the offensive line, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. The Giants offensive line, no matter which way you slice it, no matter how you break it down, it has not been good enough for years. But how can it get better? What are the factors involved here that might make the Giants offensive line take a little bit of a step forward in 2024? Do we think it's going to be this great unit, a top 10 in the league? No, probably not, but we definitely think it'll be better than 32nd, and we think that there are reasons to believe that a few of the players on the Giants offensive line will make a significant contribution towards improving the unit this upcoming season. So we're going to go ahead and dive into it, talk about some of these players that we think are going to take a step forward, or some of these newcomers who are just going to make a big impact with their presence on the field, and everything else in between on the Giants offensive line. But before we dive into all that, make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to the channel if you're new, ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you're listening to Apple or Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, Alex, how are you doing today, my friend? And what are your thoughts on this New York Giants offensive line entering 2024?
I'm doing pretty good. And look, this offensive line, as we've talked, every year we kind of have the same conversation. We hope to God that they take a big step forward. Now, I want to give 3 reasons. I'm not going to guarantee that this line's going to be better, but there are 3 primary reasons to believe that they will be a little bit better. At the very least, a little bit better. I think that we can probably confirm. You can't get much worse than what the Giants did last year. They ranked dead last in pass blocking. I think they led the league in sacks allowed. It was just horrible. The injuries, the inconsistencies, the turnover, the talent. I mean, we were just lacking on all fronts, and that's a really light way to put it. So, Anthony, looking at this offensive line, what the Giants did this offseason, they did not allocate. They were actually one of the few, maybe one of a couple teams, if one of 2 teams, that didn't allocate any draft capital towards the offensive line. Now, a lot of people were really upset about that. Now, I kind of want to combat that saying, well, do you really want to invest a random 5th-round pick in an offensive lineman? Like, is that supposed to be the solution to this group? No, obviously not. You need to be spending 1st-round, 2nd-round draft capital to get day 1 starters, if that. So I kind of feel as though the Giants didn't waste any picks. They have a lot of young talent on this roster they have to develop already. They lead the league before this draft in allocation of draft capital towards the offensive line, so now it's time to actually develop and grow them. I think this is a Bobby Johnson issue. I think this is a coaching issue. I don't think this is a talent issue. Evan Neal, this is not the same player we saw at Alabama. I want him to be better. Of course, now we brought in a free agent, and that's part of the 3 reasons why I think this team is going to be a little bit better in the trenches. And the first one I want to start off with is John Runyan. And John Runyan, my friends, a lot of people will probably say, oh, he stinks. John Runyan's nothing. He's not going to do anything for this offense. Well, I would kind of challenge that notion. I'd say I think John Runyan's going to be pretty good for this team. And the reason is he was playing right guard, and that is not his position. He was playing out of position for the Green Bay Packers. He was a left guard for them, and he was really good at left guard, an above-average pass protector. But Elton Jenkins, they failed. They wanted to move him to tackle. It didn't really work out. They moved him back to left guard where his strong suit is, and because they wanted to move him back into left guard, they had to move Runyan out to right guard. So the Giants end up paying a player 3 years, $30 million who was playing the wrong position, right? So they're actually getting substantially more value than other teams paid for guys like Kevin Dotson or, Mike Onwenu or whoever, Ford. I do think that right now, if you are looking at what the Giants did here, I'm not going to say he's going to be as good as any of those guys, but I think he's going to be just as good as a pass blocker at left guard. And the reason I say that is because, well, he was pretty damn good when he played there. He's played over 1,000 snaps in each of his last 3 seasons. And guys, if there's anything that we need, it's better health and better durability. John Runyan offers you durability. So I do love that about him. And of course, looking at what he did last year, he gave up 22 pressures over 1,009 snaps at right guard. Looking at what he did at left guard, back in 2022, before they moved him out of the position, he gave up 4 pressures over the first 6 games of the season. In fact, over the first 5 games of the season at left guard, he didn't give up a single pressure. He was probably one of the best left guards in the game. And then he had 1 bad contest, and then they moved him over to right guard. So, you kind of look at what happened to him. he was having a elite season in pass protection, and then they just moved him because Elton Jenkins, they didn't really know what to do with him. They moved him to the left guard, and obviously he's a tremendous player too. So they kind of got the best of both worlds there. But Anthony, looking at Jon Runyan, I don't think he's going to be like this tremendous like elite run blocker. He can be competent, average maybe, but he's going to be an above average pass protector at left guard. And that's where the Giants needed to improve. They need to protect the quarterback position. And now you have a good pass protector next to your star left tackle and Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas has been put through the ringer when it comes to having competent players at the left guard position. They've turned that spot over more times than I can count. And I'm really happy to say that like they finally have a solution who's going to be a good complement to him there. So I do expect that left side to be significantly better in 2024. That's one of the reasons I do believe this offensive line will take a big step forward.
Yeah, and I want to add on before I talk about that left guard spot and Jon Runyan for Evan Neal. This is also an important, or sorry, not Evan Neal, Andrew Thomas, who you just mentioned. This is also another important season for him because he does need to prove that he could stay healthy year in and year out. Andrew Thomas has dealt with a lot of injuries throughout his career. Now, we all know Andrew Thomas is an elite pass protector, one of the best left tackles, and an elite run blocker, one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL. He was absolutely worth every penny that the New York Giants handed him in their contract extension that they gave him last offseason. But Andrew Thomas, as a rookie, in his second season, third season, fourth season, every single year he's been dealing with some sort of ailment. Last year, the hamstring pull kept him sidelined for a good portion of time, and man, it really killed the New York Giants offense. So I'm not saying that he's an injury-prone player or anything like that. I think that he's just asked to do a lot, and because he's an offensive lineman, he gets banged up, and that's totally okay. But I ideally would really like to see Andrew Thomas play all 17 games this season. I think that's a little bit of an underrated talking point, underrated factor in this New York Giants offensive line and what could make them better in 2024. Having their best player on the field for every game will make them better. So I would really like to see Andrew Thomas stay healthy in 2024. And again, I know a lot of injuries. They're outside of the control of the players. Sometimes freak incidents happen. You really can't control it. It's probably not going to be Andrew Thomas's fault if he does get injured, but I'm just hopeful that he can play all 17 games this year because that alone will upgrade the Giants' offensive line. But also, like you said, who's playing next to Andrew Thomas will help upgrade the Giants' offensive line. That's probably going to be Jon Runyan. As you mentioned, a very solid pass-protecting interior offensive lineman. That's what the Giants needed. On the interior last year, having guys like Justin Pugh that you signed off the couch, it's good for the locker room. It's good for the culture. It's good to have a body capable of playing football out there, but that's not good for the team and for the success of the team. Signing guys midway through the season off of their couches, that's not high quality talent, but the Giants have somebody who's reliable in Jon Runyan. He doesn't miss time with injuries, and he plays well. He plays multiple positions. Yes, he said that he's more comfortable playing the left side of the line, and he's played a lot better there in his career. But if he's asked to play on the right side, at least you know you're getting better than you did last year at the right guard spot as well. So Jon Runyan is going to be a really important piece to the New York Giants' success this upcoming season, and his ability to play more than one position is important. His ability to play as a solid pass protector on the left side is very important. The only problem with that is, where do you put Evan Neal if he doesn't pan out at right tackle? Evan Neal has never played right guard in his football career, but he has played left guard before, and we've had quite a few conversations before, Alex, about how playing left guard might be the best case scenario for Evan Neal. It might be the way to unlock his next level and get him playing high quality football again like he did at Alabama. But now that you have Jon Runyan there, and Jon Runyan not so great at right guard, much better at left guard, now you might be forced to move Neal inside to right guard where he's never played and ask him to learn a new position once again. So it does complicate things, and that's why the real key to success in 2024 for the New York Giants is Evan Neal being an average at the worst right tackle. If he can just play okay at right tackle, all of the other pieces fall into place for the New York Giants. Jermaine Illuminor, we've been talking about how he's probably going to steal Evan Neal's job at right tackle. I hope that he doesn't. I really like Jermaine Illuminor as a person and as a player, and I hope he has a very successful 2024 season with the New York Giants, but I pray to God that he is not the starting right tackle for the Giants this season, because I need Evan Neal to win that job. Allow Jermaine Illuminor to be a massive upgrade for the Giants at right guard, allow Jon Runyan to be a massive upgrade for the Giants at left guard, and hopefully with those two upgrades at the guard spots, That trickles down into John Michael Schmitz taking a big step forward at center. But again, this is really a domino effect based on how well does Evan Neal play at right tackle. If Evan Neal plays well at right tackle, if Carmen Bricelo can find a way to unlock that next level of Evan Neal and make him a competent player at right tackle, all the other dominoes, all the other puzzle pieces fit right into place. And there you go. Now the New York Giants offensive line is not only upgraded at right tackle because Evan Neal got better, they upgraded left guard because Runyan is able to play his natural position there, and they upgraded a right guard because Jermaine Illuminor can move inside to that position rather than guinea pig testing another player there who's never played there before in Evan Neal. So it's really the big key here for me, Alex. I want to get your take on that. Obviously, Evan Neal is going to be a big topic of discussion throughout the offseason. We're going to have our eyes on him. We're going to be really hopeful that he does take that step forward. And if he doesn't, that's why the Giants signed Jermaine Illuminor, which we're happy about. But do you see it the way that I see it, where if Evan Neal does turn into a competent player at right tackle, all the other pieces fall into place for the New York Giants on this offensive line, and that is really the key here to taking this offensive line from being a bottom 10 unit to being at least the league average.
Well, I mean, to put it kind of blatantly, Jermaine Illuminor right now is way better. It's not even really a conversation. He is significantly better than Evan Neal until proven otherwise. We hope that Evan Neal takes these big steps forward. We hope that Carmen Bricelo walks in and teaches him how to be a competent NFL player. We hope his ankles hold up and he doesn't get re-injured. There's a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of we hopes when it comes to Evan Neal. We haven't seen it over a large sample size. We've seen flashes of competency, but we've also seen a pretty large sample size of incompetency. So this is a matter of you got to go win this job, man. This is not a handout anymore. Like, you are not the starting right tackle until you prove that you can hold up in pass protection, right? He's an okay run blocker. You got to get better in pass pro. Jermaine Illuminor is here to take your job. Jermaine Illuminor is not here to play right guard. He's not here to be a backup. He's not here to be a swing tackle. He's here to test Evan Neal's limits. And that is what they pay him to do. $7 million per season, which, by the way, is a freaking bargain for him, is going to be exactly what the Giants needed to kick Evan Neal's butt into the right shape. Because the truth is, Evan Neal was given this job for 2 straight years, and he was a first-round pick. There's logic to suggest that was the right decision. He was going to be the starter because they wanted to see if he could be, kind of developed to where they needed him to end up. And right now he hasn't gotten there. And in fact, most would say he's regressed. So, when you look at Jermaine Illuminor, his numbers last year, he gave up 28 pressures and 6 sacks over 905 snaps. Obviously, and I'll throw this in there. He played 2 games last season at left tackle in which 7 of those pressures happened. So he only gave up 21 pressures at right tackle. He has been solid in pass pro. He's been solid as a run blocker. This is a guy who has experience across the board. 1,861 snaps at right tackle, 534 at right guard, 422 at left tackle. He can do it all. So this is someone who, he's not taking Andrew Thomas's job. He's not taking John Runyan's job. The only job left to take is that of Evan Neal, whoever's going to end up competing at right guard. So, you push him. Best case scenario, and this is the best case, Evan Neal wins the job and plays right tackle, and Jermaine Illuminor plays right guard. I think that's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario, Jermaine Illuminor plays right tackle and Evan Neal cross trains and competes at right guard. I think that's, and even that being a worst case scenario isn't the worst thing in the world, because Jermaine is a better player than him right now, and he does have a substantial amount of experience in Carmen Bricilo's offense. So, at this point in time, I think this team is going to get better. Our right tackle position is better. Our left guard position is better. John Michael Schmitz cannot possibly be worse than he was last year. And Andrew Thomas is obviously an all-pro level talent. So just based on talent alone, just based on the numbers and metrics alone, based on the coaching alone, the only direction for this line to go is up. Now, I can't guarantee it because we've seen crazier things happen and this line get worse year after year. But I will say this. There are many, visual reasons to believe and supporting reasons and arguments based on metrics, based on coaching, based on so many different things, that this line will get better. So that's kind of reason number 2 and 3. Number 2 is Jermaine Illuminor is going to push Evan Neal to be better and hopefully rise to the occasion. And number 3 is the coaching. Carmen Bricelo, what he did with that offensive line in the Raiders should not be overlooked, right? What he did in his first year there, he helped them develop into the best run blocking unit. He had the best running attack in the game with Josh Jacobs, right? The best running attack in the game. Last year, they were the 13th ranked pass protection unit. and they had nobody. They had basically Greg Van Roten, Jermaine Illuminor, and a couple other nobodies. I think they had Colton Miller maybe as their primary start. He didn't even play the full season. Like you're looking at a line here that you could argue the Giants had far more talent than they did and still underperformed them massively. If Carmen Brasillo can do the same thing with more talent, with money allocated now, with resources allocated, this team should be, I mean, based on what he's done, should be an above average offensive line long term. That's how I see this offensive line progressing. I think next year we'll probably hover in the 15 to 20 range. That would be a godsend. We would see so much better performance in the offense, just 15 to 20 range compared to 25 to 32 range. So, how do you think the coaching is going to impact this unit? In my opinion, it's basically the entire kind of portion of this that is being overlooked. The coaching is going to be a significant impact, a significant variable in the development of this group, and hopefully better technique and not being beat all the time will lead to fewer injuries. You know how many times injuries happen because these guys are not doing the right job, because they're on their ass? Nick Gates broke his leg because Billy Price was completely destroyed at center. Destroyed. I think, what was it, Deron Payne or something? Backed him up right into Daniel Jones's lap and ends up falling right on Nick Gates' leg and snapping it in half. That is what happens when you have incompetent players that are poorly coached. You have more injuries. That's what happens. You get more injuries when you have bad coaching and bad performance. So, that's kind of how I look at it from a perspective of, think about Daniel Jones's neck injuries. Completely because of injury. And you want to know why that neck injury happened last year? Because we missed a kick, right? Andrew Thomas chases down a guy, a DB, by the way, who he's never going to catch, pulls his hamstring. Josh Azudu's playing left tackle, gets blown up against the Dolphins, and then Daniel Jones gets hurt. That is how bad performance and bad plays result in injury, okay? They need to play better, need to have better technique, need to be stronger, and they will reduce the amount of injuries that happens to this team. It really is twofold. So, I'll get your take on that. Obviously, the improvement of coaching that should impact this team and offensive line in a much, much more positive way.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of broke it down well there. Carmen Brasillo took over, that Las Vegas Raiders offensive line that ranked in the bottom 5 to 10 of the league. By the time he left, they were a top 10 unit. And that rushing attack in particular, we do talk a lot about how John Runyan is a great pass protector and he's going to upgrade the New York Giants in that way. And, they need to upgrade their pass protecting. Their run blocking was pretty ass too. It was bad. And that's a major area of improvement that Carmen Brasillo is easily going to be able to help with. Because when you look at the blocking scheme that he implemented with the Las Vegas Raiders and the way that he was able to turn Josh Jacobs into, what did he have, 1,800 yards this past season? A lot of that you do give credit to Carmen Brasillo for the way that he coached and schemed together the blocking in the running game. And I hope that he has that kind of voice in the room for the New York Giants this upcoming season. I don't know if that's what they're going to ask of him, if that's what they're going to require of him, to be involved with the scheme and to implement his own blocking and strategies and bring in a fullback. I know that Carmen Brasillo really liked to use a fullback with the Las Vegas Raiders. Those are things that remain to be seen, but man, listen, Carmen Brasillo really developed that Raiders offensive line into one of the best run blocking units in the NFL. And I think that alone is going to help make Evan Neal better, because what I see from Evan Neal is a big, strong, powerful man that doesn't know how to use all the gifts that he's been given. He does not know how to use the power and the strength that he has in the run blocking game. We've seen flashes of it. We've seen him absolutely maul defensive linemen on rare occasions because he does have that size and power, but does he do it consistently? Does he have the technical refinement to continue to do it consistently? We haven't seen that yet. But Carmen Brasillo can hopefully teach him how to do that and hopefully teach the rest of the Giants offensive linemen how to do that. And development has been a problem for the Giants players for years. Whether you're talking on the offensive line or if you want to go to a few other positions, we have some good coaches on staff like Andre Patterson. Absolutely God's work that he did developing Dexter Lawrence. But have we seen that level of development from some of these other positions? Well, on the offensive line, absolutely not. The Giants have done a really poor job. They've had a lot of young players like Josh Azedo, like Marcus McKethan, and so on and so forth. Shane Lemieux, John Michael Schmitz in his rookie season. these players get to the NFL and they don't seem to ever improve. They seem to just remain constant. At least it definitely felt that way with Bobby Johnson coaching the unit over the last 2 seasons. But now hopefully with Bristolo, these young players can develop. And that's why the Giants probably didn't go out into the draft and add any talent on the offensive line. First of all, they would have had to have cut some players if they did that because they were kind of overloaded on the offensive line in terms of bodies on the roster. But then on top of that, it's just they do have the young talent. It's just about actually developing the talent that they have now and turning these professional football players into solid contributors. So that's going to be the main goal here. And I do think that Carmen Bristolo, his track record suggests that he'll be able to get more out of some of these players and be able to put them in better positions to succeed. And hopefully, man, it shapes out that way because it really sucks watching the Giants burn all this draft capital and sign all these players and none of them are panning out. They got to pan out at some point. These guys got to develop. I mean, they come into the league with all this talent. Evan Neal being the prime example. He came into the NFL with so much talent, and we haven't seen him get better in any way. In fact, we've seen him get worse in just about every aspect of his game. It doesn't make sense, and you have to point towards coaching at some point and say, hey, who is failing this kid? Why is he not getting better? Why is he not improving? Is it his work ethic? Is it that the coaches are just not connecting with him properly? Do they need a new coach? And ultimately, that's what they decided, is to get a new coach. And so I'm very hopeful that Carmen Bristolo can go ahead and help propel this unit forward and get these young guys to take that step in their development. But it's going to be really intriguing. And we do talk a lot about Evan Neal at right tackle. We talk about the new additions on the offensive line. As you mentioned, though, Alex, it can't get any worse for John Michael Schmitz. And to be honest, I have no idea what went so wrong for him last year. Injuries were a problem as well. He was also hampered by an injury throughout the year, but he really underperformed considering he was considered a safe pick and a high floor prospect. Didn't look that way as a rookie. Really did struggle on the interior of the offensive line at the Giants starting center spot. But I do expect him to take that big step forward and be the prospect that we expected him to be in year two. It's just like, how could he not be decent? Look at the kid, how much talent he had coming out of Minnesota. I think that John Michael Schmitz is definitely in store for a better 2024 season. And if that's the case, and we have these other upgrades, there is no reason why this Giants offensive line shouldn't at least improve in 2024. So there's really my full take on the unit. I'm not saying it's going to be a top 10 unit. I'm not saying it's going to be anything that's going to blow you away. But if the Giants can just get average offensive line play, now that they have a weapon like Malik Neighbors in the receiving core, just get him the ball, just get him open, give him enough time to actually get open, give the quarterback enough time to actually stand in the pocket for a couple seconds and throw the ball downfield. The Giants offense should be so much better off. It takes such a leap forward, especially considering how bad they were during that last season. Hopefully we get a more fun and exciting offense to watch in 2024, and I'm just praying that this offensive line keeps the quarterback upright long enough to get Malik Neighbors the ball downfield and watch him make plays. That's going to be a really big factor in helping our first-round pick actually succeed in 2024. Alex, any closing thoughts on the offensive line and how it could be better this season and the way that'll impact the offense?
I mean, my closing thoughts are simple, guys. I'm not going to sit here and guarantee you they're going to be better, but I do believe they will be for a number of reasons. It just really is how much better. They need to be able to give whoever's playing quarterback enough time to at least stand in the pocket for a second and deliver strikes. You can't run a competent offense without that variable there, and obviously having Malik Neighbors, it certainly is going to help the offense, but you can't target him downfield. Jalen Hyatt is basically a non-factor if your offensive line cannot give you protection because he is just a 9-route guy. He's just going to run deep. If you don't have the time to throw the ball deep, Jalen Hyatt is just running cardio. And that was really the worst part of his rookie season. He was just running cardio half the time. I kind of feel like the Giants acknowledge this. Joe Schoen and Brian Dable said publicly, we never want to see that happen again. It was disgusting. They couldn't even run a play. So they addressed it. And guys, like I said, John Runyan is a starting caliber left guard. He is a above average pass protector. Some would say pretty well above average pass protector. He is going to increase and improve the team because of that. Now, Jermaine Illuminor, he is significantly better than Evan Neal. He is going to be a significantly better player at right tackle if he does end up winning that job. I am curious to see what happens at right guard. I am curious to see what happens at John Michael Schmitz. A lot of people are down on John Michael Schmitz right now. But let me throw you one last little kind of take on there. His left guard and right guards were changing every week. Ben Bredesen was changing spots every week or injured. Nick Gates, Justin Pugh, obviously off the couch. He was not very good. He was good enough, but he was not very good. Of course, what do you expect? He literally was coming off not playing into starting for the Giants after a day. You know what I mean? Like you don't expect much. Marcus McKethan, Josh Azu, and there was just a constant rotation of players, and it never was going to work for the Giants. So health, durability, and above average pass protection should help John Michael Schmitz on both sides of him. So I am anticipating growth across the board, just a matter of how much.
That's really the question. I do think that we're going to see improvements from a few of these players and hopefully the unit as a whole. But how much better do they get ultimately remains to be seen. And I'm just excited for football to roll around. It's going to get here sooner than you think. I mean, OTAs are right around the corner. Hopefully we'll be talking to one of the Giants offensive linemen around OTAs. We do have Jermaine Illuminor slated to come on the show at some point soon. And after OTAs, it's going to ramp up quickly. You're going to get right into the summer. And sooner than later, training camp will be here, and we'll be talking New York Giants football right around the corner. So can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure to stay tuned to Fireside Giants throughout the offseason for all your New York Giants content, news, rumor, info, all of it right here on Fireside Giants. And make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you're listening to Apple or Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, we'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.
Perfect.